We were talking about like what nobody told us about Huntsville. Like, we have these expectations coming in, but those unknowns that when you get here, you find out it's like just completely different than what you were expecting in some facets. So what were some of those things for you that we talked about?
There used to be no traffic.
Yeah.
And now, that 565 to Decatur and back at rush hour. I mean, that's not a great experience anymore. It's not. We do have a lot of people moving to the area, and I don't want to give people the idea that it's all sunshine and rainbows, because we do have a little bit of traffic. Sure. It's just nothing compared to these major cities. And if you're coming from someplace like Chicago, San Francisco, Phoenix, you're going to find it a welcome relief. Yeah.
But it is something not enough people talk about is when you look at a comparable city, a lot of times there is a downtown, and that is where everything is. All the restaurants, all the walkability, all the hotels. And while we definitely have that, we also have these city centers. So you think about like Mid-City, you think about Lincoln Mill, you think about Lowe Mill, like Ditto Landing's getting a lot of growth right now. And these areas, they're more pockets, and it distributes the events, the restaurants, the parking, the hassles, right? Yes. So like if you're coming into Huntsville for an event in the weekend, there could be 3 events going on, and you're not in cross traffic, cross parking. No. You're not trying to walk. I mean, I think the worst I ever ran into was there was a concert and a hockey game one night. And so we were,
and that goes down to, and you have to give shout out to city planning, because that doesn't happen by accident. That happens because we have a plan for this city. We have city planners who are actively courting. Mid-City was created by the city. They actively courted businesses to be there, and it was part of a plan. It didn't just people just didn't organically build Mid-City.
You mentioned like traffic and growth and infrastructure, and so about a year after I moved back here, so I've been here almost 6 years. They passed a higher gas tax, very controversial in Alabama. But it was for a program they called Rebuild Alabama, and so they're rebuilding bridges, roadways, expanding roadways, resurfacing them throughout the state. And while a few local people complain, Huntsville has won out huge in that. So, I mean, really all of our interstates have been resurfaced at this point. They've widened most of them. And the one last one that really needs to be widened, which just happens to be the one going by my house, is the last stretch they're doing. And
I do think that it's a well-run city. It's efficient in that way. And that you see that everywhere. I was going to mention this. I think it's funny. A lot of the local people here do not know how to parallel park. And no, it's because they don't have to know how to, you don't know how to parallel. So I'm from a place where you have to know how to parallel park because if not, you just have to keep driving. And that just speaks to how convenient it is. If you can go to a downtown and not have to know how to parallel park, it's a pretty convenient place.
Look, I can parallel park so long as there's 3 spots in a row that are empty.
Yes.
Now, my wife, who spent 15 years in the DC area, she can parallel park. So she's pretty good at it. So no, I hadn't thought about that, but that's funny. But that's where those different perspectives come from, right? Here, everybody can drive like a massive SUV, the F-150 that's got the wide tires and all that, and all the parking spots are big enough for it. Like I remember when I was in the DC area and I got my first SUV when we had our second kid, there were plenty of spots I couldn't park in. And I'm not necessarily talking about the ones just marked compact. They just were so small because they were trying to accommodate so many vehicles at once. And you kind of had to know where you could go. Like my wife drove a Camry for a long time. So there were certain places we knew we just had to take the Camry. Thanks for watching or listening. You can always catch us on audio or wherever you get your podcast, be Spotify, Apple, or you can watch our video on YouTube. Really appreciate you guys being here. Ask that you subscribe so we can keep you informed of everything going on here in Huntsville.